Hello. Yeah.
Transitioning to sustainable energy sources poses unique challenges for small-scale isolated environments like Bonaire. These include the need for specialized technical expertise as new technical solutions are developing, as well as significant financial investments. We, in partnership with Contour Global Bonaire and the public entity Bonaire, are committed to this shift as a crucial part of our strategic climate neutrality goals.
Because of very high fossil fuel prices, Stasia got support from the Dutch government to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. In 2014, we embarked on a journey to develop this solar park on the island through a phased approach. By 2016, 23% of our energy production came from the solar park. By 2018, it had increased to 45%. And today, in 2024, it had reached 55%. Resulting in our diesel power plant being shut down for more than 12 hours a day.
The secretariat will be able to offer us its expertise on wind energy through the data acquisition and processing, and to evaluate the socioeconomic and environmental impact of wind energy. The support will be also on photovoltaics, evaluating the methods of empowerment of the already existing 1 megawatt plant, and to diffuse photovoltaics on private owners.
Good afternoon. I hope you had a very good lunch and a very good 1 day and a half. For some of us already 2 days and a half with those who went to the workshop on Tuesday. So we are actually getting close to the end of this forum, and many of you have participated very actively, I must say, in the 4 breakout sessions where we discussed amongst islands, after presentation of some very interesting case studies by islands, we have held these discussions amongst us. And as yesterday was announced, for each session we had a rapporteur who will present some of the takeaways, conclusions, impressions that they would want to convey to you. Now, in the spirit of the breakout sessions, we would not like to make this us talking to you, so you are invited to be inspired by our rapporteurs and also share some of your thoughts, some of your takeaways, things that you would want to share with the whole group as being noteworthy or interesting, or you know, personal conclusion for yourself. So we'll have that first, then we'll be wrapping up more formally this forum, and then there will be some briefing on the site visits and practical information. But so first, I would like to invite to the podium in these cozy seats Joana, Rita for the breakout session of transport. I see Claire for the breakout session on renewable energy. We have Nicole on energy efficiency, and I'm looking for Konstantinos. Okay, there he is. On grid, please have a seat. On grid, the breakout session on grid. So we're gonna sit down. I'm having this projector in my eyes, on my head. Okay. Okay, well, should have taken a hat. I thought it wasn't sunny today, so I left my hat. It's okay. Okay, well, there's nothing we can change about that. You know, you have to do with the natural resources that you have. Okay, forward, yeah? Okay, good, good, good. Is this better? Yeah. Well, okay, leave it. I'll, we'll censure the pictures, or we'll put a filter on it. Good, so who would like to start? Perhaps, I think the first sessions were on renewable energy and on transport, so let's perhaps start there, and then we have those that are still fresh from this morning, and then obviously you all are invited to share thoughts and so forth. So you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So I have a difficult challenge here to summarize what so many interesting things that was said yesterday on the session. So I will try to be succinct. And one of the every groups talked about it was the impact on tourism on islands. So tourism can be a challenge, but also can be an opportunity. For instance, cruise ships. Sometimes some people think that cruise ships are very nice when they are on it. It's a very good way to spend a vacation. But not very good for the islands and the cities where they stop. And the engines are burn fossil fuels, so they pollute a lot the environment, the air. But also cruise ships, they are an economic relevant factor in some islands for tourism. And we have an opportunity here because, as Fernando Henriquez presented in this presentation, cruise ships, the engines, are very similar or sometimes the same as our thermal power plants. Some of you visited yesterday the Caldeirão power plant. So, and with the new legislation, the cruise ships have to be more environmentally friendly. So they have to find alternatives, like alternative fossil fuels or hydrogen to burn on their cruise ships. And that can be an opportunity for isolated islands, like ourselves here in the Azores, to use the same engines in our thermal power plants. Otherwise, we are so small that we don't have the necessary scale to put companies like Versijp or MIN, like you saw yesterday, worrying about us. But cruise ships is a big industry, so they will be worried about them. So we have to change, we have to try to see challenge as an opportunity. We have to try to do that. Also, we have to find a balance between the supply and demand that, for instance, land transportation comes the challenge with tourism. If you have a lot of tourism, you have a lot of demand for land transportation. Sometimes I heard in some forums, not this one, that the public administration doesn't invest in public transportation because there is not enough demand from the population. But as we also seen yesterday, is the history of the egg or the chicken. We have an island in Corfu that doesn't have electric vehicles, but it has a charging station. So people cannot use that excuse, oh, I don't buy an electric car because I don't have where to charge it. So we have to increase also the demand of public land transportation and try to tackle with the needs of the population. And when you do that, it also offers more opportunities to the tourists. So instead of they renting a car, they might use public transportation, which is a good thing. Also, we have to try to get rent-a-cars into the business so they can. So it's important to them also. But we are an island. We have that problem here, and in the summer we have a lot of tourism, and they all use a rental car. and it struggles with parking space and other constraints. So we want tourism to be good also for the population. So we have to find a balance. So I think investment in the land transportation is very important. Last but not least, I think it's always important to mention that it's very important to create awareness and to educate people for the importance of using public transportation, to the importance of being efficient and energetic efficiency in their households. And one of the examples that was presented yesterday is an example that I use a lot of times, that is about the recycling issue. Because 30 years ago, we started here in the Azores making campaigns about recycling. And we teach them at schools. We go to schools to teach children to recycle. And 30 years has passed, and we don't have a recycling problem anymore. Recycling is very normal for our population. So we need to create awareness, and starting with the children, so they can teach at home what they all told us in school, to create energy literacy, because I think it's very important. It's very difficult to talk about energy because sometimes it's very technical. So we have to simplify the language. It's all about communication, as we saw in the first workshop on Tuesday. So we have to keep it simple and start with children. So 30 years from now, maybe this forum will be discussing a lot of other things, but people will be very much familiar with energy, and it will be much more easier for all of us to do our job, to engage citizens, but also to engage politicians. Because that's an interesting thing to say also. Now, it's not only difficult to engage citizens, but also politicians, because sometimes energy is not a priority unless you have a blackout. When you have a blackout, everybody understands the needs for energy and electricity. But when everything goes well, we forgot how dependent we are of energy and electricity needs. So, to engage citizens, but also to engage politicians, because sometimes they have the other priorities, like mobility, like social issues, like health, like education. But if we put energy and started to talk about energy in schools with children, 30 years from now they will be the new politicians, so energy will be also a priority on their policies.
Thank you, and I think a very interesting call to raise awareness, and especially on islands, about the unique energy situation, and I'm sure that in 30 years things will look different. The question is, do we have so much time? Because we would want to accelerate, and given our title, 100% renewable energy islands by 2030. That's not a generation, that's 5 years from now. But okay, it's, I think it shows how much can be done if you have the time. So we need to think about acceleration as well. So Claire, thank you first for being with us, but also for taking note and making your summary of the session on renewable energy generation. It was funny yesterday that in the session you were not on transport. The representative of EDA was saying, actually, the biggest problem is the generation. And I was like, yeah, but that's the other workshop. That's the other workshop. So here we will focus on transport. But so there's a connection between the two. Let's put it that way. And I'm sure you will have something to add on that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and hello to everybody. Bon dia. And first, let me start by thanking the regional government of the Azores for their warm welcome. It's always a pleasure to be in the Azores. So I'm Claire Helly. I'm a project and policy officer at the CPMR Islands Commission. So for those who don't know us, we are a network of regional authorities in Europe, and we gather 18 island regions all over Europe across all sea basins. And what we do is we advocate for a better recognition of island specificities into EU policies. So let me start also by saying that I listened with great attention to the workshop and also by to the introduction by the European Commission yesterday. And we are very pleased to see the attention given to islands in this new mandate, and in particular through the recent announcement of the consultation for a strategy for islands. So islands count with unique strengths, as we all know, but also unique challenges due to their insular nature, and this is also recognized in the treaties under Article 174. Islands count with limited land space and limited resources. They are home to outstanding biodiversity, and their economies is mostly based on tourism, agriculture, and blue economy. So having said that, I think we can see why some conflicts in land and sea use can arise. And that was also precisely the topic we touched in yesterday's workshop. So participants in this workshop discussed about the possible locations to install windmills in the island of Fejø, so I hope I pronounce it correctly, in Denmark with specific constraints related to biodiversity, related to the location of the city. And of course, there was no best solution. So we had this intense discussion on what to prioritize. So let me share with you a few insights. We raised the question of, first, the technological solutions. What is the most efficient? Is it to install one big windmill, two small windmills? Is the grid capable of handling such an equipment? Some other groups also proposed an alternative, saying why do we want to install windmills on land when we could go also offshore? But this raises also the question of the necessary related investments to make to upgrade the energy infrastructure locally, which also raises the key question of the cost and the available financings to strengthening the grid, but this will be the topic of the other workshop. But this calls also for appropriate financial support to fully unlock the benefit of the clean energy transition in islands. So secondly, the other topic is the environmental protection and the presence of Natura 2000 areas in islands. This was raised in many discussions, and this is indeed a key challenge, which often results in administrative burden and complex relationships with national authorities. So perhaps a specific support would be needed in that sense to support the local communities in navigating these complex regulations and interactions. And third, and this is really my key takeaway from this workshop, is the centrality of the local community. In all the discussions, all the groups, the involvement and the adhesion of the local community was the first concern. And someone even said, if the community is against the project, drop it. So that shows the importance. And I think this is also an important point to say that a successful project is one that involves stakeholders, and it's also one that benefits the local community through income, for instance. So it can be through more affordable prices for energy, but this can also be done through compensation for the disturbance caused by having a windmill close to your house. And so this could also be funding for local community initiatives, so from the community to the community. So to summarize, it's really important to keep in mind that these renewable energy projects should benefit the community in a way or another, And it's also a matter of communication, as Joana said, because it's also being able to convey a positive narrative on renewable energy projects. And for instance, in Sardinia, there is now a big opposition to renewable energy because of the failure of a past project, unfortunately. So now this is being overcome with the creation of a new energy community by the municipality. So to conclude, I just want to emphasize the importance of pursuing the development of the trainings to increase capacity buildings to the island stakeholders, including also for the administrative capacity. It's really important to provide appropriate support to stakeholders in navigating their journey towards decarbonation. And to this regard, I would like also to welcome the great work done by the Secretariat of Clean Energy for EU Islands. This is really a best practice we would like to see in many other EU fields, so well done for this. But nevertheless, we must also keep in mind the important challenges of appropriate financial support. This is really key, aligned with islands' investment needs, in particular for grids. And finally, a relevant legislation needs also to be tailored to islands' specificities. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, and very, very interesting observations. Well, just adding 2 or 3 things. One, CPMR and the Secretariat have worked very intensively, especially in the last year, but even before. And Costas and I were here at your party, your assembly in the Azores. And we also laid the basis there for collaboration, extending to the Island Grid Pact and then the Brussels workshop and so forth. So it's we're very grateful for the support that CPMR has given us and for the intense cooperation we've had. I think you've been at almost all our fora, which is great and a testimony of our cooperation. Second, I liked very much the community aspect that you also pointed out, because indeed the Clean Energy for EU Island is about clean energy, and you've seen, part of that work is technical, is engineering, is about the technologies, is about the project development, the finance and so forth. But we always have the second dimension, which is the community dimension, the community ownership, sponsorship, commitment, engagement. I mean, it can be whatever form, and we continuously explore those, but I think that's indeed very important. And the common ground, I think, between the 2 breakout sessions is, when thinking about nature and thinking about infrastructure, is yes, Natura 2000, and luckily many islands are of outstanding natural beauty, but not every part of the island is. And there's always a port, there's always a waste recycling site, there's always a big parking lot, there's always roads. There's always a big chunk of infrastructure which is mostly underutilized for clean energy. And I think that's also where we need to think. When there's a parking, it should also be used for renewable energy, for charging and so forth, because those things are there for the tourists, for the population, and nobody asks questions about it. But if a session on energy efficiency was, I saw very intense in discussion around the table, very participatory. So please tell us some of your conclusions from that session.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Jan. Good afternoon, everybody. Indeed, we had a very productive meeting and we had a good discussion. I think maybe energy efficiency has not been paid so much attention to in the context of the Clean Energy for EU Islands initiative as the supply side. I mean, it's been a lot about, making the energy that we produce greener. But of course, there is there is a different side to that, and that is also that we can manage the demand. And if you look at energy efficiency first, you make sure that you don't over-dimension your system on the supply side. So I think it is an issue that deserves a lot of attention, and it was very good to have this discussion, which was quite well attended. And there is a lot to be gained, because more than 25% of energy demand in the EU is actually for households, and perhaps it could even be more on islands, I could imagine, especially when they don't have any industry. So there really are big gains to be made. We also have new legislation. We have the Energy Efficiency Directive and the Energy Performance of Buildings Directives, which have both been revised. And, you know, if the issue does not seem particularly important for you yet, this will change in the coming years, because by January 2030, all residential buildings will have to comply at least with the energy efficiency label E. And by 2033, this will increase to energy label D. So that's only, you know, 8 years from now. And if, for instance, you look at Spain, at the moment, 80% of the building stock is actually at energy level E, F, or G. So there is really a world to be gained there. And also all EU countries will have to submit national buildings renovation plans. So I'm sure that they will also become knocking at your doors on the who report having a problem of being able to keep their home warm. And if I'm not mistaken, it was something like 30%? A bit above 30. So just imagine 1 in 3 who have difficulty keeping their homes warm. So, you know, it's not only about money, it's also about, you know, your living standard in the end. Okay, so then we go to the discussion that we had in the session. We started with 2 presentations from 2 Croatian islands, Korčula Island and Pašman, and I hope I more or less pronounce it correctly. And then the Irish Aran Islands. And these presentations made clear that the challenges are considerable. Investments are high. They're even higher on islands, and they take a long time to earn back. It's difficult to find funding, and it's also, you know, difficult to find skilled people on the islands who can install and maintain the equipment. So the challenges are, I think there are challenges everywhere in meeting energy efficiency requirements, but they are even more important on islands. The presentation also made clear that engagement of local communities is key. If you don't have the people willing and interested to be on board, people will just not be willing to make all the efforts that it takes to renovate their homes. So we went into discussions in the world cafes. We had 4 tables focusing on economic, environmental, technical, and social aspects. And I think, yeah, that there were some common issues that came actually out of the discussion on all 4 of the tables. Islands are different, but the challenges are very similar. But the solutions need to be tailored to the island's context. So while there is a lot that we can all share and learn from each other, the solutions will always have to be specific. Yeah, I also already mentioned some of the recurring issues in all the groups, the higher costs on islands. Also, often the lack of interest to do projects on islands, so it's very difficult to get companies from the mainland to be interested to even come over and do the works here. And then, as I mentioned already, the lack of skilled people on the islands who could do it themselves, and also lack of expertise on how to deal with these very complex processes that need to address a lot of aspects at the same time, because you really need, I think, integrated plans to address all these different issues in a comprehensive plan. And then there are also on many islands, specific requirements relating to heritage, to environmental protection. So these standards add further complication. So then I made lots and lots of notes, so many that I'm now having a bit of a challenge to find back the main aspects of the different round tables. So starting with the one on the social issues, as the lady moderating that one said, this is clearly the most important one. Main challenges are basically a lack of awareness among many people on the islands. You could even call it illiteracy, a lack of understanding of what needs to be done, how it could be done, why it would be relevant for people. A sort of NIMBY idea, in the sense of, well, this is all very nice, but I'm 70 years old. I will never earn back the investment that I made, so why would I be bothered? Somebody can do it after I'm no longer there. And also, this issue of the lack of expertise on islands. So some of the solutions that were identified it was already mentioned before that it's very important to work with schools, with young people. They are open to change. They are also probably the ones who can educate their parents and their environment by telling them what they have learned in school, so they can really be sort of drivers of different mentalities. Establishment of energy communities to work together, to not try to do every house individually, but to really also aggregate in a way the demand, to also get better prices. But also, if you have people in your community who have already gone through the process of renovating their home, installing all this equipment, the neighbors come and see, wow, this is really nice and it works very well and the process was not too cumbersome. This is also very much a driver of change in a community. One-stop shops, I'm not sure how easy that is on islands, places where people can go with, to find advice, solutions, possible access to funding, comprehensive support to help them go through this process. And then, yes, I can imagine that not on every small island it's possible to have a one-stop shop, but you might then do it at a regional level or have brigades traveling around through islands to provide the support on the spot. Okay, now I have to see where I was. Yes, the incentives for scholarships for local people to have people from the community being trained and able to provide the assistance on the islands could also be an interesting option, so that you don't need to rely on the mainland for all the expertise and the skills that you need. I'm afraid I'm going to be very, very long, so I think I will just... Am I still within time or do I need to speed up?
You have a few more minutes.
A few more minutes. Okay, technical issues then. I think one of the issues that was identified was a distrust against materials and technologies, both new materials and technologies. We've always had aluminium windows. Why would we have PVC? But also at the same time, there are in some places, very old techniques that were always used to keep houses warm or cool, but that are perhaps not complying with modern standards, or could have, give problems if they would be used now in terms of insurance and certification, etc. But they could also be interesting solutions. So, well, one of the solutions would be to valorize local groups and existing networks to also sponsor such solutions. And then the one-stop shops that I already mentioned. Then another issue is that in many cases you need higher standards of equipment on islands. You have, there's a lot of salt in the wind, there's very high wind, it's humid, so a lot of equipment may not be, suitable. Let's say the standard equipment. You need higher standards, and I think there is an example of many rusty heat pumps on islands which are just not, suitable for the purpose. So you could perhaps put mandatory standards for these new installations, and also put in tenders the specific requirements that meet these local conditions. But of course it will also lead to higher costs, so perhaps there should be some additional incentives then, and I understand this is already the case in some islands, that they can get higher grants because there is this more expensive equipment, for instance. And then the lack of resources for installations and maintenance, yes, I already mentioned, it came back in all the 4 tables. So their aggregation of demand may help, and then again the training of local experts would be a solution as well. Environment, multiple constraints to communities in accessing planning for improvements to buildings, for instance, because of these higher standards or specific standards relating to heritage, nature protection. Sometimes it's UNESCO areas or military use. So you could perhaps think of a fund for the renovation of such sites that have to meet specific additional requirements that could be established by national governments, and then could actually perhaps even benefit from some EU support to help these standards then be applied. Also a conservative attitude of planners. Planners tend to be overcautious, so they are sure that they won't fail the environmental or heritage standards, and there's maybe a sort of tendency to say, when in doubt, we just refuse it to avoid getting in trouble. So there I think there is a need for training as well. Okay, I need to wrap up. Yes, okay. The final issues, was the economic issues. Well, it was already mentioned that the investments are higher on islands. It's just more expensive to do it because of all the materials having to be brought in, because of the higher standards of some of the equipment. So the funding will be essential and needs to be really targeted and tailored. But at the same time, there's sometimes a problem when there's only a certain period of time, a window in which applications can be made, and then suddenly everybody gets the money. There's a wave of investments, and then it's so much that the prices actually go up even further, and it's very difficult to find the necessary people to do it. So temporization can also be an element there, and then again the bundling of actions to bring down the prices. And I think that sort of summarizes it.
Okay.
So
Thanks. That was an extensive summary. And I had to think about an anecdote because you mentioned the kids and the young people in the schools and the technology. And I was in Mayotte, which has the fastest growing population of France, so a lot of new schools are being built. And we visited one of these new schools, Oceanside, fantastic. I would wish my children can go to school there. And it was built based on principles of natural ventilation, sort of ancient practice, but then built on a new scale. Beautiful school, very nicely done, very energy efficient. And so it was break, and the kids stormed out of class, and so I thought I'll take the test. So I stopped a few of these children and I said, like, you know, how do you like your new school? Is it any good? And so the first guy says to me, well, it's good, but it lacks airco. So let's be careful. The kids also still need some awareness raising for the new kit, the new technologies that we're giving them. Anyway, that was an anecdote. We go to the last breakout group on grids. That was also a very interesting session with a lot of aspects. So please, Konstantinos, could you wrap it up for us?
Thank you very much, Jan, and thank you for this opportunity. And also I would like to thank the coordinator of this breakout session, Kostas Komninos, and his cooperators, moderators, and so on, who were very helpful to me and taking some notes, key notes, which I will consult right now. So what took place in our breakout session? First of all, as an introduction, we had keynote presentations referring to technical and financing issues regarding grids and infrastructure. Then we saw some presentations of case studies, and finally we broke out in three groups. Where specific discussions took place per project categories, which were referred to the demand-side management, the flexibility and storage, and grid capacity and interconnections. So I will be very brief because everyone through these 1.5 days have heard so much analysis and explanations and so on, so I will be very, very brief. Three of the main conclusions that I could choose to highlight and as the key takeaways are, first of all, the need for public funding support of grids and infrastructure. There are high demanding in terms of financing of funding projects, which without the public contribution would be not viable. As a second conclusion is the need for more regulation in order to have the opportunity to introduce some innovative technologies and services. There is a lack of provisions that should be regulated in order to come forth in this aspect. And as a third conclusion is the need for informed consumers. I think all of us have highlighted this need. Citizens and stakeholders, enterprises, all of them has to be more informed on what is going on right now and in the future. So furthermore, I would like to highlight some island-specific challenges that have been emerged throughout these group discussions. Regarding the first discussion about the grid capacity and interconnections, it was based on the discussion. It came out that specific in the islands, due to their seasonality, the return on investment of this projects, the grid and infrastructure projects, are lower than in other places. So that this justifies even more the higher public support that is needed there. So regarding to the second discussion on flexibility and storage, in this group also, due to the specificities of the islands there, there is need for more tailor-made regulated provisions to enable the flexibility market. This is very crucial in these areas, the insular areas. So, and as a third specific conclusion regarding the demand-side management, I would like to highlight that in those islands there is need for more awareness. There is lack of skilled personnel in the islands, and this lack should be in any case covered. Otherwise, we will maintain a situation of distrust in the islands, and these investments cannot be socially viable, sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and it is remarkable that in all of the 4 sessions, the issue of awareness comes back. So I think that's a sort of horizontal, transversal conclusion there. Good. Is anybody from within the room who wants to also share a conclusion, an observation, something that you want to take away and share with the colleagues here in the room? Can be anything, so it doesn't need to be, well, clean energy related, preferably, but so, Maya.
Yes, I was already mentioning to you, but I would love to see on our next forum to tackle more into the social issues. I was the one moderating the social table, and one of the main things that I'm really interested to hear more on the conferences and energy transition projects is behavioral changes and psychological way of how we can influence the change that we all strive. I think that we are quite hearing a lot about technical and financing, and we are forgetting about maybe the main ingredient, and that's the human being that needs to implement all of this.
Thanks, Maya. A very good recommendation, and we'll definitely pick up on that. It's true that it's been rather technical in many sessions and presentations, and I think we should all get a certificate of power systems engineering, you know, as a gift coming out of here. But the social issue, as mentioned by every rapporteur here, and also by you, and we could. I mean, there's a lot that can be said and about that, on influencing awareness raising and so forth. So I think we can have very exciting stuff on that. Good. Anybody? Sorry, not everybody. Anybody else who? Yeah. Martina is not shy. That is, you know, that's. That doesn't need to be in conclusion.
Thank you. No, one thing that I've heard in both sessions that I attended, so the one in about transports and the other one about grids, especially on the demand-side management side, was the importance of creating incentives for consumers to make the switch or enable new services and new mechanisms, such as the EV-enabled services, or again, demand-side management. So I think that this is also to be kept in mind. So incentives, not only from the, you know, like raising the awareness side, but also from a, you know, like economic perspective. So yeah.
Thanks. as an economist, I would say price is the best incentive, but I know that's a bit reductionist. So there's more to be said. Yes.
All right, it was your price remark that causes me to say something. I've heard a few times some things about price, and yesterday remarks about more rapid, but in islanded systems. And I wish we could discuss this perhaps in another forum at greater length. One of the greatest delays we've had with respect to time here, not just us as private developers, but ETA, the region, is an interpretation by our national energy regulator, ERS, about directives from Brussels to place top-down emphasis on lower prices without understanding the unique requirements of what it takes to produce quality energy in consideration of many, many dynamics in islands, each one being unique. Everyone agreed when I asked earlier, are islands the same? Not a single person raised their hand. The fact is, in our project, and in every project, we have to start from the ground up. Ground is hard to find. Everything's so site-specific to that ground because it's the ground that we permit, that we entitle, that we get, that we make applications for the rigorous engineering and technical grid access studies, all of which goes up, 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 up the stack, not from the top down. You can't start with a price. You gotta start from the unique requirements, and you don't know what the price is gonna be until you work your way up. And I wish we could convey that message to Brussels and say, guys, you can't start with price. It's a problem. And it's not gonna happen fast if you have that mentality, you know, for what it's worth. That's my comment.
Thanks, that's great. And I think we have there's another person there. We have already a bridge to the next forum, and we also have a bridge back to Brussels for the concluding remarks. But please, yes.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for organizing this forum. It was my first time. And I have one suggestion for a topic for the next one. We are an island in the north, Ameland, and we have our main issue is electrifying the heat. So if that could be a subject for next forum, would be highly appreciated by the islands in the north.
Great. We keep the most difficult issues for last then. So, all right, I see no more hands. Well then I would say a big round of applause and thank you for the rapporteurs. You can go and take your seat. I'm gonna stay here and I invite, what? Am I forgetting something? No? Okay, okay, yes, sorry. Okay, good.
After the panel is finished.
We're finished.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's time. The hour is over, sorry.
Sorry for the interruption, but Hannah and I thought about doing a small walk through our website. So with the triple goal of first of all, thanking and sending some props to our IT and communication teams, which maintains and updates the website continuously. Second, to raise awareness about all the resources that are available on our website. And third, avoid Hannah and myself a lot of emails. So, yes, so we will walk you very quickly through a couple of pages that we have on our website. The first one, perhaps, and the most close to all of you, is the forum page. So if you go in the forum tab, Forum 2025, which is this one, you can find there, like all the general information, but specifically, which is, I think, is going to be the most important and most interesting thing for you, is that where the program details are shown, all the presentations that you've seen in these 2 days will be uploaded for all of you to consult and download. So don't send me an email asking for a presentation, it's there. But if you don't find me, also send me an email. Because it always happens. And the same goes for the forum of the previous year. So all the resources are already up there. Then, keeping on resources, if you go in the resources tab, publications and reports, and you filter under publication type, you can find there all the different publications that we have done within the Secretariat, and specifically under Technical Assistance Report, you can find all the Technical Assistance Reports that we have developed, and on the top you will find the most recently published ones. So you can find, like some of the ones that we have been presenting during these 2 days, but also a lot more. And there's also the Madeira one, Diogo. So I'm happy to see it up there. So yeah, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of pages written and studies done. So I would really encourage you to scroll down to see if there's some resources that could be interesting for you. And if you want more information, you want me to get you in touch with the authors and stuff, just send me an email, and I'm happy to make the bridge. And then finally, and I would say last but not least, to quote Alejandro from last year, the marketplace page. So we had this financing session this morning, and Amandine, which is with George and Leandro in charge of the marketplace, already said. This is the Island Marketplace page, so you can see there all the resources that Amandine has told about. Amandine's personal email, so you can harass her as well, and all the different forms and investors list, and so on and so forth. So this is an encouragement also to all of our islanders to go here, see what is there, what is missing, and reach out to us. And if you have any further questions, just as always, feel free to ask. There's much more, but this is mainly what I wanted to share with you, because I think it's the most important things for now. I'm done. Jan, back to you.
Thanks, and having read many of these technical reports, there's really an incredible amount of work there on many of the technologies, feasibility studies, methodologies, and so forth. Really, there's a lot that can be recycled. Obviously, every island is unique, every site is unique, so you have to redo a lot of these things, but at least you know what you're looking for. So I would invite Alejandro also with me here, and there's another mic, because we want to wrap it up. We're already at the end, apart from the site visits, I should say, later on. So we are done with the breakout sessions, the presentations, the plenary sessions on the environmental, social, technical balances that need to be sought in order to advance the clean energy transition on our islands. And I think, as already said in the beginning, if I can share one first thing, and then I'll leave the floor to Alejandro. The fact that we've been working so many years together now, intensively with the islands and each island team on different topics, that was really the thing that stood out for me this time. Because when we started with this fora, it was a lot of presentation basically to the islands. But in this particular forum, almost all the presentations were from the islands, and based on work that we have done together, based on studies that we've done, based on experiences that have been gathered. And that's really, I think, a testimony to the technical assistance, the workshops that we've had, the follower islands, which are part of our community now, and this wealth of information from island to other islands and exchanging about that, that's really, I think, the thing that can be learned, and the thing that stood out for me in this session. So thinking about our theme, I would like to ask Alejandro for some of your impressions and some of your concluding remarks on where we are and what you've gathered. We're extremely grateful that in your busy schedule you have been with us for the full 2 days, which is extraordinary. But I hope you don't see it as wasted time.
Thanks a lot, Jan. Good afternoon to everyone. So, Jan, I'm supposed to say a few words of conclusion on behalf of the European Commission. Is it a horrible breach of protocol if I ask, or if we have Nicole and Edita to join me here on the stage?
Please.
Because Nicole and Edita are the true leaders of the EU Islands Initiative, and I think it is really great that they're both there. So thanks, Nicole, and thanks, Edita, for joining for these concluding remarks, which will be short. So that means half an hour or something like that. No, I'll try to stick to that. So so it will be my, Nicole's and Edita's concluding remarks. So we will do that as a team, because we are a real team. So maybe, Jan, first thing, first of all, it's been an amazing 2 days. So inspiring, fun, educational, thought-provoking. Thanks a lot to every one of you. It's really been a pleasure, and I think we get a lot for policy making for the next year. So thank you very much to all of you. Thanks a lot to our host, Joana. Thank you very much. Thanks to you. Thanks to your team. Thanks to the government of the autonomous community of the Azores that you represent. Every year, there is like an, how I say that, every year we think we cannot get better in terms of setting for these events, but really this year has been fantastic. We know you have made a lot of effort. We have learned a lot from the source during these 2 days, so thank you. Thank you very much, Joana. No, thanks a lot to you. Thanks, Joana. Now, a couple of words on, not conclusions, because I think the previous panelists or the previous session was fantastic in terms of wrapping up, in terms of comments, so I will stick to the rather general comments. First of all, the big picture. So this event, this process is called Clean Energy for EU Islands. We have spoken a lot about energy, we have spoken a lot about clean energy, and we have spoken a lot about islands. But what we all have to keep in mind is the other 2 letters, EU, that we have there, European Union. European Union is a project, unique project in the history of the world for peace and for solidarity, and based on common values such as protection of the environment or protection of the common heritage. And this is what underpins all. We had very technical discussions, we had economic discussions, legal discussions, but all what we're doing here during these 2 days is underpinning that. You might tell me, Alejandro, so how does the financing of a storage project in a small island around one of the seas around Europe contribute to peace and solidarity? And I can tell you it does contribute to peace and solidarity. It does contribute to the protection of the environment. So what you do is fundamental part of bringing the European project forward. So that is the very important first takeaway I would like to take from these 2 fantastic days that we have been together. Then, going a little bit more into the policy work, one thing which was really a key message throughout the 2 days was that of regulatory stability. Yesterday, I was very bold because I said regulation is just the first step, then comes implementation and so on. But now I have realized, after these 2 days discussion, that the first step still might need a little bit of work. It has been very clearly said this morning that if we don't have regulatory stability, a lot of things do not happen. So there is important element there. Yesterday also I was very bold because I said we have to move fast. But if one goes fast but one doesn't know where one is going, then it doesn't help. So we need to know where we're going, and then we have to go fast. We have to go fast there. So that is a very important takeaway. Then of course comes implementation. Many good things have been said there. One important part of the implementation discussions went around funding. And here we have the public funding, the EU funding, but there are also other fundings, and then we have the private fundings. When it comes to the EU funding, I mean, I don't elaborate there, but one important thing that we need to keep in mind is that there is so much EU funding, there is substantive EU funding, and it is part of the solidarity angle of the EU project. The EU funding is there, but we also have competing priorities, which are all important for our society. So we need to be laser focused on trying to use that money in such a way that we achieve as many objectives as we could do. And you in the islands, you do that. You are very good at breaking the silos, because when you do a project, not only you look at the environmental projects, you look at the social aspects, you look at the tourism aspects, the economic aspects, etc., etc. So actually, I think that we in the European Union, we can learn, in the European Union institutions, we can learn from you in that respect, in how to use the budgets well, to use as many objectives as possible at the same time. Then there is also the private funding, which is very important, but we have learned it's not an easy thing. We had very interesting discussions this morning. One thing that I have kind of thought is that, you know, in the EU, we have one, among many other things, we have a great thing, which is we have many languages. We speak many languages, we are united in diversity, and that is really great. And yet we manage to understand each other somehow. When I was listening to the discussions yesterday and today, we realized that we also speak many languages. We have economists, we have engineers, we have people who work in finance, we have lawyers, and it's really so interesting to see how sometimes we understand each other, but I believe that sometimes we don't understand each other. And that I think that trying to find a common language between the developers, the financiers, the lawyers, the public authorities is very, very, very important. And for that, we all together, we are not alone. We all took note of what Amandine said this morning. You are not alone. Secretariat is here to help. So this kind of finding the common language is something on which Secretariat will work and will help everyone with. Having a common language is also very much linked to the question of public acceptance. A lot has been said about it in the wrapping up conclusions and during the last 2 days. I will not elaborate, but I liked one comment that someone made during one of the discussions is, before you talk about acceptance, you have to deal with understanding, because you cannot accept or not accept something that you do not understand. So you have to understand. And there was a very good comment in one of the breakout sessions I was, when a colleague, one of the participants said, before you're talking about storage, maybe it's useful to take a picture of the actual battery and to show it to people, to the persons who are going to be involved in the decision, so that they know what we are talking about. And so that is, I think, very, very important. Then, we had a lot, I noted a lot of policy issues that need to be tackled with respect to islands. I'm very happy in the sense that, as I hinted at yesterday, those are issues on which the EU is really actively working on. Grids, obviously, storage, electrification, budget. We will have a new budget for the European Union soon. Citizens, the citizens' angle, citizens' energy package that I mentioned yesterday, and so on and so on. I wouldn't make a big list, but what I would like to emphasize is that these 2 days are a crucial input to all these processes, and Nicole, Rita, and I, we're here not only for the very nice discussions that we're having, but also to bring back all these inputs to all these processes that I have mentioned. And, well, I didn't speak for 30 minutes, but I was very long, so I will stop now. I thanked a lot of people. Before I close, I should thank the Secretariat, the EU Island Secretariat, which, as I said, is embodied or represented by Jan, but it's kind of supported by a lot of colleagues whom I couldn't name because I would forget. I'm sure everyone, and nobody deserves to be forgotten in this very important. So please, a round of applause for the secretariat, which deserve it. And I would, as I promised, now would like to give the floor to Rita and to Nicole so that they share their conclusions. My last comment, this, again, between 2 days ago and today, there is a difference. We have made progress in the sustainability of the energy system in Europe, in the security of the energy system, and that shows. So thank you very much for that, and now I hand over to Rita.
Thank you. I will maybe choose to say one thing which I heard all over for me it was 3 days because I started from the workshop. And it's very true. We hear lots of, all islanders mentioning sovereignty, self-sufficiency, independence, all those words, what they want to see. Also, they want ownership and control. So this is what we always need to keep in mind about islands, that anything which comes, or I would summarize even differently, that no decisions about islands' energy future without islands being fully involved and deciding how they want to go. This lesson we learn every year, and we try to pass it over both to the Commission, to our colleagues around, but also to the member states when we talk with them. I think we all have similar understanding, but sometimes we tend to forget the important element of it. Second thing, I just will compliment Alejandro. I really have my full, let's say, computer pages of notes, but one computer was discharged. I was putting the notes on the paper, so we'll have to put it together, both during the event, but also we had so many discussions and grabbing each other out in little discussions outside of at coffees, in the corridors, during the trips. So really, we have lots of homework, some smaller, which I hope will be very easy and quick to solve. Some probably will take more time, but certainly this is another big task. And my final remark, which I usually say to you, this is my event of the year. Even, through winter and some maybe, some, let's say, more difficult and maybe not so inspiring tasks, I lose my, motivation, patience or something. I come here, I learn, I see you, I recharge, and then I can go again, because this is what I feel the meaning of my work. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, well, after such beautiful words and deep thoughts from these two, I will just keep it very short. And first of all, again, thank you very much to the people here on the Azores for the very warm welcome, for the excellent organization. We had a great time, and I have found a new holiday destination. So I hope you're not yet in that stage where you think, oh, no more tourists, please. No, good. No, yes. Okay, so that's great. This was for me the second time that I attended a forum, but the first time was back in 2019, and I'm wondering, is there anybody here who was there at that time? 2, 3 maybe? I think I saw Paul. I seem to remember, but very, very few. And I remember at that meeting, which was in Hvar, I hope I more or less pronounced it correctly, in Croatia, I think we had maybe 50, 60 participants, and we were like, wow, this is getting so big. And then if you see the community now that has built up over these years, it's just incredible. And I think it's a testimony to the value of the work that is being done under this initiative. And it's, for me, extremely inspiring to see, a community of all these islands, communities that has evolved here. You see, these islands from all over the EU, completely different challenges, and yet at the same time, there's so much common ground and so much that you can share and learn from each other. So yeah, for me too, this is really a great inspiration. I've learned a lot lots of, you know, little facts that I would have never thought of behind my desk in Brussels, but that are extremely valuable to feed my work and my thinking. So a big thank you to all of you. And yeah, hopefully we will have another great session next year. And this card, which I was supposed to send to somebody, I'm keeping it and I'm putting it on my wall in my desk as a memory to this wonderful event. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Great, now we're coming really to the end. I have 3 more things. One, continuing with the thanks, there's 2 more thank yous I want to explicitly mention. One is the people from EDA, and I think our host was Fernando, yes, who have really put in a lot of effort to host us, to show us their sites, give the presentation here from the CEO presence and so forth. So big thank you to EDA. You were one of the reasons we came to the Azores, and definitely you've not disappointed. Thank you so much. Then the second thank you, the forum each year, and I think we all feel it's growing, the community is growing, but obviously there's a lot of logistics and organization and event work going into there, and obviously I want to thank the excellent Steinbeis team, Hannah, Louisa, Ciora, and Gabi. Ciora, Gabi, where are you? Okay, and Gabi. Yes. I got an email saying they exist 35 years, and if you think of it, the last 5 years we've been working together. So great to be part of your history too. And it's truly the best EU event organization around, so big thank you for that. Now, 2 more things. One, content, and one, making the bridge. So I was struck yesterday, Alejandro talked about the EU and clean energy for EU islands, but I want to finish with the clean energy, which is in the end definitely what also inspires me and a lot of people who are part of this clean energy transition. And when we visited the sites yesterday, I was struck by, you know, what clean meant. You had solar panels, you had the batteries, which are sort of humming in the background, and then you had the thermal station, which is necessary. I agree. I'm not saying I'm against it, but who's, you know, the smell, the noise, and the fact that the petrol is not ours. And there on the sovereignty, I know, and the remark has been made, it's a lot about defense now. The priorities have shifted from climate, clean energy to defense. But you know, defense and security is also not being vulnerable to essential importations of too great dependency on for our energy. And clean energy is our energy. And I think, you know, if you look around the world, the nations that are going into the energy transition are mostly energy importers, because obviously the exporters don't have such a necessary motivation. And I think there Europe has learned the hard lesson that fossil fuels are imported fuels and clean energy is our energy. And I think you know, making the bridge in the global context, I wanted to repeat that because it should be a motivation to keep climate and clean energy on the agenda, even when we're talking about defense, which is obviously necessary too. And then the last thing, much less serious, it turns out, I don't know how it came about, but every year around this time, I need to change password on my computer. You know, and the days are counting down. You have 11 more days to change your password. And every year I pick an island. And I make a variation on an island. You know, it's don't think you'll get so easy in my computer. And each year I pick the island where I think we could perhaps have the next forum. So I'm not going to tell you which password I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick one. We'll see whether the next forum is there. We'll see. But if some of you have ideas to organize the next forum in their island and want to host us in the same impeccable way that the Azores have hosted us, do not hesitate. We'll see if I got it right next year. So, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure and a great honor to have this forum for you and with you. It's as always, a lot of fun. But we're not finished because we still have some activities, and Hannah will educate us about the logistics of the way forward.